Okay, I think we're live. Let me check the other window real quick. Okay, so now I think I'm live. We will find out. Alright, so anyway, I think we're good. Welcome everybody to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Today I'm doing another vegan news and views live stream. Hi Leon, thanks for joining. You're the first. So this is cool. I'm gonna try and get through a whole bunch of articles today. There's like an insane amount of stuff going on, and I actually don't have much time. So I'll try my best to get through all of them, but we'll see. I might have to split this into a two-parter as well. So with that, I think I'm going to just jump right into it in the interest of time. So let's go to the browser view here. Alright, now the beginning of this stream might seem like almost like an April Fool's thing because of the articles I found. So here we go. If you care about the planet, eat more beef. And yeah, it just reads like a horrible joke, but the person writing it is pretty much a jokester, I would say, or somebody who's very, very ignorant and doesn't actually know anything. So this person is, hey Jen, welcome. So this person is basically saying that they take issue with the recommendation, you know, from the EAT report that I've covered in the previous streams, saying how we need to reduce our beef consumption by 90% in order to meet the you know, greenhouse gas emissions that would save our planet, etc., etc. And this person is just taking this view, kind of like that it's a big conspiracy, it's a big attack on the dairy and the cattle industry, and they don't like it. And yeah, so basically they're coming in and saying, not only do I think these expert recommendations are dangerous to our health, I also think the loss of our cattle industry would be devastating to our environment. So not to our industry, not to our economy, to our environment. And then he basically pulls the I have a vegan brother. So then he says, like, you know, pulls out the oldest one in the book. Plants are not a complete protein. Meat, eggs, and dairy are. His brother has to eat lots of hemp seeds and quinoa and soy, which are complete proteins, but beans and peas aren't, and they have to be combined with rice, and it's like really dangerous and difficult, and you're not going to be healthy because people aren't going to know how to get enough proteins, and they're going to get sick. So, wow, you know, kudos to this guy for having his head stuck in the sand for so long. I don't know how he's getting air down there, but like it should be a well-known fact to everybody by now that all plants have all the essential amino acids that you need. They do have them in varying amounts, whereas in meats they're roughly equal. But there is actually quite a bit of scientific evidence to suggest that some of the ones that are naturally low in plants, like I think it's methionine if I remember right, it's actually good for your health. But all plants do have all the essential amino acids. And this protein combining myth is actually something that was debunked like decades ago. You do not need to combine the proteins. That's just something that somebody literally made up for like an article in a magazine once, and unfortunately it still carries through to this day, but there's no science to support that. And yeah, Jen, you're right on there. I have a second cousin twice removed who is a crap journalist. Yeah, this person, hey Dave, welcome man. So yeah, this person is just very clearly like a just horrible like researcher, doesn't know what they're talking about. And then they go on to explain how raising cattle is actually good for the environment. And this is like a real huge stretch. You're like, what the heck? Like, how is this person making this you know, this leap? And you get to this part here. He cites this person who is doing research out in California. So it says, new research from the University of California also recently concluded that grasslands are an even better and more resilient carbon storage option than trees. So I was thinking like, wow, you know, this is an incredible thing. You know, like I had always, you know, everything I've ever seen says that trees are like the carbon sink. And, you know, it's like, hey, Race Lover, thanks for joining. I don't think everybody's going to retract their messages, so you can be first, but you can be third. So I'm like, you know, where are these, you know, where is this being pulled from in this study? So I opened this study, And sure enough, it's basically saying grasslands are more reliable carbon sink than trees. But then when you actually read the article, instead of just looking at the headline, it's basically talking about the study being done in California, and it's specifically talking about the fact that there are so many wildfires raging already from the global warming and climate change that we already have now, and the droughts that are happening there. The trees are actually getting burned up, and when you actually burn trees, lo and behold, you're introducing carbon dioxide into the air. So this study actually did not say at all that the grasslands are actually able to sequester more carbon. It's just that able to sequester more carbon if the trees get burned in forest fires, which they likely will, unfortunately, because of the climate change that we are already experiencing. But they are still saying that trees are like a really important part, and that if they are able to be sustained through like fire management or whatever, wildfire risk, they would still be better than the grasslands. So it's like totally opposite of what this guy is claiming in the in this opinion piece. So I just think it's like, holy smokes, like where are these people like coming from? And I would think probably most people won't bother to click the link and won't bother to read through the the actual study. But so here it is. The study does not suggest that grasslands should replace forests on the landscape or to diminish any other benefits of the trees. And there's an actual part where they literally say that the trees are better. Where was it? Yeah. In a stable climate, trees store more carbon than grasslands. But in a vulnerable, warming, drought-like future, we could lose some of the most productive carbon sinks on the planet. California is on the front lines of the extreme weather changes that are beginning to occur all over the world. We really need to start thinking about the vulnerability of ecosystem carbon and use this information to de-risk our carbon investment and conservation strategies. All this study is saying is that with the amount of climate change that we already have, the trees are in danger of being burned, and if people are using those as like a carbon credit, they're basically saying here, pollution credit, sorry, they're not going to be behaving as carbon sinks, because if they burn, they're going to introduce more carbon dioxide, and then they're saying emissions may not decrease as much as we hope. But this in no way suggests that we should grow more cattle to save the earth. That's not going to help. That's going to further contribute more methane and carbon dioxide. But it just really, shows you the lengths that people will go to try and say, like, yeah, just eat more beef. I'm sure this guy's probably a cattle farmer, but it's just insane. So, yeah, we should plant fireproof trees. That's right, Riz. Okay, so moving on. Another one that I wish, I could just laugh and say this is a April Fool's joke, but it's not. A couple of idiots who happen to be vegan were basically starving their child. And thankfully the child was found before it had actually perished. But again, the headline, vegan parents almost starved their 5-month-old, blah blah blah. They didn't give it the formula that was prescribed by the pediatrician. They found some mashed potato concoction on the internet and decided to give that to the kid instead. So you can see here, after, 5 months, the infant weighed only 8 pounds 8 ounces, and after being recorded at birth with 7 pounds 9 ounces. So that's very, very low weight that it had accumulated in that 5 months. So I can imagine that baby was probably skin and bones. But I'm just showing you this because this is the kind of thing that, unfortunately, the media does look for these kind of things. It's hugely sensational, and it like really gets people to be like, oh my god, the vegan diet is dangerous, whatever. It's like, no, these people are idiots, and they didn't feed their kid. Like, it's as simple as that. If they were omnivorous and they decided to feed their kid nothing but the same amount of calories of, I don't know, whatever, chicken liver or something, the baby would still be just as much endangered. But you wouldn't see like, omnivorous parents or carnivore parents, like, anyway. So it's just frustrating to see that, and thankfully the kid survived, and hopefully they get it into a good home, or I don't even know if they're going to take it from these people, but they're facing some like serious consequences, I guess, which is good. Yes, Jen, definitely the daily fail. Now, moving on, I couldn't believe how many of these things I found to start the broadcast here today with. Is like, this is another opinion piece. Editorial, Cory Bookers' ridiculous vegan gospel. It's like, okay, great, let's see what this guy says. Oh wait, it's very short. This one's even worse than the first one because there's no you know, references or studies or anything cited. This person is just literally claiming, "Hi Ellie," and thank you. Please and do indeed smash the like button if you can. I think it helps drive up the thing in the YouTube algorithm. So anyway, this one here, Senator Cory Booker, if anybody doesn't know, is a vegan, and he has spoken out, you know, pretty vocally for, you know, animal rights issues and environmental issues and things like that. And this person who's writing this article, I don't even know who this is. Oh, it's a Post editorial board. That's great. They're saying he wants to wage a war on meat and dairy. So the longtime vegan says, "We've seen this massive increase in consumption of meat produced in the industrial animal agriculture industry. The tragic reality is this planet simply can't sustain billions of people consuming industrially produced animal agriculture." That's the God's honest truth. But this editorial says, bull. When they can afford it, people eat meat because they like it. How does that in any way, shape, or form refute the fact that the planet simply can't sustain it? This is just telling you what people want. It doesn't tell you what the planet can actually sustain. So it's like this person is just like logic fail, like like beyond belief. Like I can't believe some article would actually allow this to be posted, like some newspaper. And this is from the editorial board. So it's like the New York Post, 3 thumbs down, you know? I mean, geez, like you got to go borrow a neighbor's thumb to give it enough thumbs down. I mean, this thing is just like so bad. So then they're saying, yeah, it was only the dawn of agriculture that led Homo sapiens to high-carb diets and brought average health and life expectancy down. Wow. Whew. I'm glad to know that, you know? Geez, we should all switch back to, you know, diets heavy in meat. You know, that'll increase our lives, just as, you know, even as nations whose economies advanced also see falling birth rates. So they're conflating the fact that industrialized nations tend to have higher life expectancies in some cases because we're often comparing them to countries that are extremely poor, and the you know, people unfortunately don't even have enough to eat. So when you compare a rich person living in a westernized you know, country who's able to afford, like, you know, vaccines and doctors and can go to the hospital when they break their leg or arm or whatever and get repaired, comparing that to some place where, you know, the person might be in a caloric deficit for all their life and facing, you know, malaria and other things that they can't even deal with. It's like, yeah, geez, man. And then without any kind of, you know, backing up, you know, they say, yes, technology can handle the environmental impact of the industrial animal agriculture industry. And then they just end by saying, yeah, it'll be fun seeing him campaigning against meat and cheese in states like Iowa and Wisconsin. So it's like, okay, anyway. If you want to read something actually decent about Cory Booker, check out this article. I'll have the links to everything as usual in the comments at the end. You know, this is just talking about kind of how he became vegan and how, you know, you know, he was, I guess, a vegetarian for a little while first, and then he came to the realization that eating eggs didn't align with my spirit. And he talks openly about kind of, you know, how he sees the earth not being able to sustain the standard American diet, and we have to do a massive, you know, reduction in the consumption of our meat. And he talks about the devastating environmental impact of greenhouse gases. And he talks about how it's so nice you can get pretty much anything you want in vegan form now. He brings his non-vegan friends, you know, vegan foods, and they love it, and all this kind of stuff. So this is actually a pretty positive piece. I would definitely check this out if anybody wants to see it. I think if anybody has the ability to go and vote in the U.S. in an upcoming election, please go and vote for Cory Booker, if nothing else, based on his vegan beliefs. I think if nothing, you know, we can even change anything, but if you can at least cast your vote for the person, you know, standing up for the animals and standing up for the environment, I think that's like the way to go. Alright, what comments have I missed here? Jen, Fox News had similar BS. The Daily Show had a piece on the Democrats' coverage on the right-wing media. Yeah, I'm sure. And it's like, yeah, it's all fake news. I mean, really, I always get a kick out of the mainstream media. Leon, not just the right-wing media. From what I know, it's the whole establishment. Actually, that's absolutely right, Leon. I think if anybody hasn't seen it, I need to look that up. There was a fantastic video done by a channel that I don't think is even active anymore, but their videos are still up. It was done by 2 girls. I can't remember the name of the channel. I'll have to dig it up. But anyway, they did a really, really awesome, I think it was like, the word banana was in their title. I don't remember. It may have been like Banana TV or something. I don't know. I'll find it. They had an awesome series of videos on the business interests behind like mainstream media, and they talked about how I think it was the Hearst Corporation owns like a ton of print media and online media, and they are hugely invested into beef production. So they have like tons and tons of beef cattle, and it's obviously in their financial interest to run these kind of news stories because they're protecting their own financial interests. I'm gonna have a bunch of stories coming up that kind of show this as well, but I'll dig up that video because I've been actually meaning to do a video pretty soon about this topic, and I'm going to reference that video as well. Let's see, like the fundraising website for Bernie Sanders was blocked when linked through Facebook. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about this. It's like, it's unbelievable. I feel the burn. Nice. Okay, Impossible Burger is on more menus, but America's beef industry isn't budging. And this is NBC News talking about how the Beef Checkoff program is still advocating very strongly for beef to be pushed by the U.S. government. They have like tens of millions of dollars of U.S. government provided basically marketing and like subsidies and all this kind of stuff, and this is above and beyond the regular kind of subsidies like that goes to farming. So they're calling out here the Beef Checkoff program supervised by the Agriculture Department, and talking about how they had a group of activists who wanted to put the sustainable requirement into food recommendations, environmentally sustainable, and basically there was a great part here where they explained it. Where was it? The meat industry has been successful at convincing the government to help continue to sell its products to consumers, said Simon, a lawyer, animal rights advocate, and vegan. Our government is spending $80 billion on beef alone to yield $400 million in extra sales each year of beef. It's telling people to eat beef. And where was the thing here? Senators have a great deal of power, and the beef industry has an enormous amount of lobbying power because they are in every state. So this is a quote from, who was this Nestle person? This is a different person. Okay, Marion Nestle, university professor of nutrition. So she says, the beef industry puts hundreds of thousands of dollars into political campaigns, and as shown on Open Secrets during the 2018 election cycle, livestock companies gave $278,000 plus to Senator Ted Cruz. Think about that. I mean, for some people, that's like more money than they'll ever earn in their whole life, maybe, or at least for like, I don't know, several years anyway. They gave another over $46,000 to Jim Costa and $46,000 to Martha McSally. To name a few campaigns. I mean, please, people, don't vote for any of these people. Let's get them out of there. The 2015 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, comprised of health experts who planned the dietary guidelines for the USDA, proposed putting sustainability in the guidelines. The beef industry knew whom to turn to. They went straight to Congress, and the Congress instructed the Secretary of Agriculture not to have sustainability in the dietary guidelines. Boom, that's it. You just give somebody a little over $250,000, and they'll just write whatever you tell them to write. So it's like, here it is, having sustainability in the guidelines could encourage consumers to eat less meat, but on March 12th, 30 senators, many of whom receive extensive funding from the meat lobby, sent a letter to the USDA telling them not to include this in the dietary guidelines. No Democrats signed the letter. That gives you a little bit of an indication as to kind of who's more heavily industry funded, but certainly not exclusively, because you could see the list here. This person's a Democrat. I'm sure there's other ones too. But anyway, so yeah, it's just terrible that this is kind of what's happening, and it just really goes to show you how powerful these industries are and what lengths they'll go to protect their interests. Ray Slower, you need to buy a mic and keep it away from your computer fan. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I need to get a bit of an upgrade in equipment, but I just haven't had time and or money to do so, but I'll see what I can do. I can sell you a slightly used mic. Vegan for a good price. Okay. Let's see. Jen, has anyone listened to Earthling Ed's latest podcast with a former farmer? I have not. I will definitely check that out. I'm sure it's good. I love hearing about former farmers, especially if they're animal farmers and they give that up. Here's another article, and this is sort of an extended kind of explanation of the thing that I've already covered in a previous stream, which was that the dairy industry successfully lobbied the Trump administration to get flavored milks back into schools. And this article from Bloomberg really explains a lot. There's a ton of stuff to cover in here. I'm not really going to get into the details, but I recommend everybody go and read through this whole thing. It like lays bare the whole thing, as I've been saying before, that these politicians are crooked to the core. They literally are bought and paid for and told what to do, and that's exactly what's happening. And they talk about how these lunchroom, I don't even know what the heck it was, School Nutrition Association conferences, how these look and what kind of sponsorship kind of presentations go on, and how they get these big names from this guy here, Food Network chef Jason Smith, gushing about his favorite recipes from the dairy cooperative Land O'Lakes. So he's talking about stuff, how you should just buy this ultimate white cheese sauce blend and how it's going to be easy to cook and blah blah blah. And I mean, it is just unbelievable the money that goes into it, and just this article is great. It really just gives you all the information. Definitely check this one out. I don't have time to go through the whole thing because I got a lot of stuff to show you guys, but I really recommend everybody check out this Bloomberg one. It's insane the amount of money that goes into it, and I've covered it a little bit last time, so I just don't want to rehash the same thing. But basically, you're looking at people from the Trump administration just reversing the stuff that had been signed into law during the Obama administration, and they are going to be propping up milk. And you can see here, these are some scary figures. 2017 production of milk in pounds, 215 billion pounds of milk produced in the US. How much was consumed? 49 billion. The dairy farmers don't want to produce less because they're being propped up by the government, and the government is buying all the excess stuff. Somebody's got to drink all this milk. Somebody's got to make all this cheese and store it. I told you guys how many, I can't remember how many billion pounds of cheese are being stored by the federal government. And you look at this milk consumption versus the production, like, yeah, what do? Well, you can force it onto schools because there's a lot of poor people there, and you can, basically give them the government provided, school lunch and force them to drink, cancer promoting and, obesity promoting, dairy. So there you go. Jen says, oh, I missed one here. It's great. Yeah, dairy sheep. It's hard. Yep. Race, the system is broken. Learn veg food fight might be coming. Yeah, sadly, I don't take that as a joke, Race. Generally, I know someone from the UK who used to call Maggie Thatcher milk snatcher because she removed milk from the school lunches. Yeah, I didn't know about that, but I'm sure that was probably maybe for some other reason. I doubt she was worried about the health of the children. Probably just didn't want to spend the government money on it. Hey, Vohan, thanks for joining. Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, I really recommend everybody read this article. This one's just insane. Check it out. I'll have the links at the bottom at the end of the stream. Okay, this one I just want to say, again, like I was already mentioned, when you look at online and print media, you look at kind of like who owns these things. Now, I can't remember if Maxim is one of the publications that's owned by the Randall Hearst Corporation that owns all the beef interests, but I don't want to say that it is because I can't remember, but it very well might be. I mean, a lot of these magazines are. And I just wanted to show you guys this article, which was printed on their website. It's not exactly new, but it's not exactly that old. So this was from the end of last year. They're basically talking about how Dr. Kim Williams is the top cardiologist, and he says no one should be doing the keto diet. And they're basically saying how, like, yeah, Dr. Kim Williams is saying that the science doesn't support it. It's extremely unhealthy. It's dangerous. You're going to have a heart attack, etc., etc. And then what do? They kind of give him like 2 cents to basically say like, yeah, like it's dangerous, blah blah blah. And then who do they link in? Dr. Ken Berry. It's like, oh my goodness, like, are you serious? Like, this is the epitome of the thing that I've always like going on and on about, how you have these kind of mainstream media sources where they take one person who seems equally as credible as another. So it's like, well, they're both doctors, and it's like, yeah, well, one of them is like the top cardiologist with like, I don't even know how many publications to his name. He was like the head of the American Heart Association, or I don't even know whichever association. And then you have some like loser YouTuber like pretending to be a credible doctor, and he's going to tell you that low carb diets are great and carnivore diet is okay and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you gave him 2 cents and you gave this guy the 2 cents, and then it's like, well, what are you going to do? Who are you going to trust? And they end the article by saying like, oh, that does look great. Okay, that does look great. The hamburgers look great. And then without getting into the deep woods of the doctor's statement and the studies of the subject, the upshot of this all seems clear. Some carbohydrates in the diet are eventually necessary, and keto's fat-burning power is all well and good when it comes to cutting flab in no time, but ultimately it's anything but a good old-fashioned balanced diet. Next time you get that free bread at a restaurant, slap on a pat of keto-friendly butter and call it even. This is literally the thing that I say that these mainstream news sources do. This is what they want you to do. Throw your hands up and be like, well, nobody knows. I'll just keep eating the same junk in the same way that I have been doing all my life, because nobody knows. You got one guy saying one thing, you got the other guy saying the other. It's a perfect example of it. It's absolutely disgusting. All right, let's see. Vohan is trying to turn you all on with his new rugged man avatar. Generally's fallen for it. Okay, and I'm not gonna fall for it. Don't worry, Grace. I'm gonna hold out. For me, it's Vohan's voice that does it. It's not really the avatar. All right, compassion over killing. Check out this beautiful post. They have 12 black vegan activists building a healthy and compassionate world. I should have done this at the previous Februdairy news stream that I did, but in honor of Black History Month, which is February, this site is thanking the black vegan activists who dedicate their lives and careers to building an inclusive and equitable movement for all. Please do check this out. There's a wonderful list of people in here. Some you may know, may not know. I pretty much didn't know almost any of them, except for, I think, Tory Washington. I've definitely seen him in a couple places. I don't know why these pictures never load in my stream. I think it has something to do with the way that I'm streaming. But anyway, definitely check this out, and follow these people if you're on Instagram or whatever. Show them some love, and it's nice to see. And especially because a lot of times people are claiming that vegan diets are for privileged people, or people of color can't afford them or whatever. And this very clearly shows the opposite. And it's nice to see vocal advocates regardless of what race they are. And I think it's just really nice to see this. And kudos to all these people. So follow them if you can. Hi, Brain Inside. Doing all right, man. Thanks for joining. Cool. Yep. I want to give a shout out to somebody that I just started following on Twitter. This next one is just one of the posts they did, which I found to be excellent. Their handle is called VeggieBro. Go check them out and follow. The actual handle is Ali the Vegan. You can see it here, and I'll have the link. This was just an awesome visual representation of something that I thought was interesting. So I'll just read it here as he wrote it. You've probably seen this graphic before depicting how large $1 trillion is, but I'd like to use it to visualize how many sea animals are killed every year. If you took each bill in the bottom image and replaced it with 270 sea animals, you'd get a rough estimate. So this is, again, just the amount of sea animals killed in 1 year. And you can see the blow up here, the little guy standing here, the pallets full of $100 bills are as tall as him or a little taller, and you can just see this massive row. That's 1 trillion, and you got to multiply that by 270. So that's the amount of sea animals killed. It's just a staggering amount. I shared this with my friends on my personal Facebook recently, and I'm just curious to see if this resonates with people. But I just think this is a really, really good graphic, and it's not graphic in the sense of violent, with animal brutality, but you can just really imagine wow, what are we doing to the planet and to the oceans? It's crazy. This next one, gonna have a bunch of sea related news. Florida is looking to and actually I think they voted on this already. This already happened on the 20th, and I think I linked the wrong story because I think this passed, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, the point was that they were going to restrict fishermen being able to pull in certain species of shark while they were fishing. They would have to unhook them in the water. You wouldn't be able to drag them out onto the shore. So what happens is You know, they catch sharks, they drag them out, they take pictures, whatever, and then they like let them back because they are endangered, and they do let them go. But now they're going to make it more strict so that they actually have to unhook them in the water. Now, personally, I think they should just not be fishing, obviously, but you know, maybe somebody probably wouldn't want to actually get into the water with the shark in the water. Especially some of these are big sharks, tiger and lemon sharks and what have you. So maybe this gets a few less people to go fishing, or if nothing else, if they keep doing it illegally, maybe they'll get fined, or who knows. But anyway, I think it's good news. Anything they can to you know, protect sharks. Brain inside ahead. What would happen if they were not killed? Would a large portion of them get eaten or just die off anyways? Well, I'm not sure what you guys were asking about. Wild caught salmon though. Oh man, the Tim Sheaf thing. Okay, we can talk about that later, but I don't want to talk about it now. Yeah, I'm really upset by that guy. He's a piece of work. Anyway, more whale sharks dying from plastic. This is, I think, the second or the third one of these that I've seen in the past couple weeks. It's really sad. Plastic bags going into these huge, beautiful sharks and other fish and turtles and sea lions and all this kind of stuff, and just literally killing them. It's blocking things in their intestines. Sometimes they're not able to pass it at all. They just literally die and starve to death because the food that they're eating can't get through. It's terrible. This is a crazy article where they actually have confirmed that there is plastic at the bottom of this great blue hole, which is kind of like this nice little formation here that you guys have on the screen. So it's Belize's Great Blue Hole, one of the world's largest sinkholes, is estimated to have first formed more than 150,000 years ago. They've sent down, you know, I guess like these little probes or whatever, these little diver things, and they've confirmed that they've seen plastic floating around in the bottom of it. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. And in this article, they also talk about how they've confirmed to have found plastic at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the ocean's deepest point at more than 36,000 feet. And the researchers were shocked to discover that 100% of them were found to have ingested plastic. This was actually the, these were the marine creatures at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. And they also saw, I think, plastic in the Mariana Trench. Yeah, here it is. They found plastic bag. So plastic is just getting everywhere, and it's insane. Like, there's pretty much no place left, like, on Earth that doesn't have plastic garbage. Crazy stuff. Leon says the caught fish, they get thrown overboard, which creates a dead zone due to the bacteria rotting it out or drawing all the oxygen. Oh, that's what you were asking about, the fish that are caught. Yeah, a lot of it is bycatch. So it's fish that are caught with these huge trolling nets, and the fishermen just literally throw back the stuff that you know, can't be sold. If it's not profitable and it can't even be sold for like being ground up for like feed to cattle and other things like that, they will just literally throw it back. But it's already pretty much dead because it suffocates when it's being pulled up and being sorted. So yeah, a lot of the fish is just thrown away. And the dolphins are bigger, so does it save face? I don't even know. I mean, I think some of that stuff is just being killed as well and then thrown back. If they can't sell it, they're not going to keep it on the boats. Portugal is banning plastic straws, coffee stirrers, etc. That's awesome, and I think a lot of countries are going to be following suit, so that's cool. Steel straws for the win. That might be good. I don't know why adults need straws though, to be honest. I don't even know why kids need them. I try not to even like ever even get them, like even in like going out. Like, I always have to tell people, like, don't put a straw in there for me. It's like crazy. Steel manning the straw agreement. Nice. The fish need to drink too. Oh man, that's a terrible joke. Beautiful world. Europe bans single-use plastic. So this is talking about the straws, the spoons, the stirrers, all this kind of stuff. Cotton swabs, which is another great one to ban. They're basically saying every year 80 million tons of plastic is ending up in the ocean. It's at a rate of a dump truck every minute. It's insane. So they're basically, this is a good first step, and hopefully other places around the world follow, and people just start, you know, thinking more about how to reduce their plastic footprint. There's some good tips here at the bottom of this article. Please do check it out if you can. But some of the really obvious ones is like, you know, like bring your own bottle to places. Don't get plastic cutlery. You know, don't get straws. Ditch the cling wrap. This is another one that I think a lot of people use at home, Like use Tupperware, like resealable things, or like, you know, just if you have leftovers on a plate, like sometimes you'll just take another bowl and just put it over it, you know, and then just put that in the fridge. It's going to be fine, especially if you don't have to bring it somewhere. And if you do have to bring it somewhere, you can just bring it in a, you know, in a resealable, like a plastic container or something like that. But at least you're using that for like hopefully, you know, many years. Yeah, so yeah, just like some pretty obvious things. You know, obviously bring back the milkman. I wouldn't say that, but I'll show you guys a counter argument to that vegan milkman in a little bit. Let's see. Brandon's head. Don't the sharks eat up the leftovers and all the bigger fish eat up like a dead fish smorgasbord? It's not just a matter of the fish, you know, being killed. I'm sure some of them are getting eaten by the other things, but the problem is also, you know, the fishing nets. The problem is also that such large numbers of fish are being killed that the sometimes you reach like a critical population, you know, figure where below that it's just like not possible for the fish to keep reproducing. There's not enough of them out there. A lot of animals, like you need to have like almost like swarms or like really large numbers of them for them to be able to successfully reproduce and maintain kind of like a level. I believe I've read a story a long time ago. This was actually years ago, like before I was even vegan. I think I read a story about how I think it was the carrier pigeon became extinct, and that was something as well where once people realized that you know, they were like dropping in numbers drastically, they still had like several thousand left. But what ended up happening was that the populations grew to such a small size in certain areas that what they found was that it affected their like mating, you know, rituals and courtship or whatever, and they wouldn't be able to basically do it because I think it was something like they always did it when it was like a swarm of them, and they never had enough of them, so they just literally just died out. So I think with fish, I'm sure there's probably some similar things where if it reaches below a critical threshold, it's not like you can just, you know, have like one fish over here and then, you know, 100 miles over there, like one other fish, like they're probably too far away or whatever. Like this is why we're probably going to be seeing the fishless oceans. Leon says they try, but it's such a large concentration in such a small area that a lot of times the bacteria get to it before all can be eaten. I'm sure there's that, and Leon, I'm sure some of it is just the dead zones are also being caused by all the you know, nutrient-rich runoff water from all the farms being spilled out into the waterways and then going into the oceans ultimately. So that too, you know, changes the you know, the algae content and the bacteria and the oxygen levels, and the warming is actually making it more you know, acidic, and it's making it more carbon dioxide rich and all this kind of stuff. So it's a whole combination of everything, I think. So it cleans up the ocean in a way. Could you consider it good bacteria and it feeds the coral and all that? I don't know, because I think the coral is also being affected by these changes too. So yeah, I don't think it's really helpful. Ray says I should take the money from my house sale and buy a badass anti-fishing boat house, boat fortress, and turn your family into ocean guardians. That would be pretty cool. I really do like the sea. What is the? Oh man, can't remember their names. Ah. What guys, help me out. What's the cool organization that goes around the sea? Anyway, I should join them. But yeah, that would be pretty cool, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'm afraid of the ocean. Sea Shepherd, thank you. Yeah, I love their organization. That's so cool. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of afraid if I can't see land. As long as I can see land, I know it's stupid. You can still drown because you could still be really far out. But as long as I can see land, I don't usually get afraid. But if I can't see like land, I get kind of worried. Okay. You got people still going to SeaWorld. I can't believe it. It's like, it's 2019. Aren't they like bankrupt yet? I mean, like, what the heck? These people were on a gondola ride above SeaWorld and they got stuck and they had to be like airlifted and you know, rescued or whatever. I don't know if it was an airlift, but they were stuck up there for 4 hours, and this article makes a big stink about it and whatever. It's like, I'm not I just don't understand, like, why are people still going to SeaWorld? Like, please, if anybody's watching this and you're like not vegan and you're going to SeaWorld, like, look at the information of what those animals go through to be in those kind of stupid attractions, doing those stupid tricks. Like, that's not where they belong. Leave them in the ocean. Please don't go to places like this, and don't support them with your money. Pal Shepherd for the boat name. That's awesome. Thanks, Riz. That's a good idea. Next, plant-based news article talking about a diabetes and endocrinology institute in, where was this? I think Slovakia, yeah. And these guys have started doing a whole food plant-based diet with very specific kind of ingredients and mix and match of foods for people with type 2 diabetes. And they saw such a huge benefit in the initial group that they were studying, that they actually decided that they want to do a larger study. And so they're like rounding up, I guess, like 100 people now for the next here it is, the 100 patient target trial in the coming weeks. And they are seeing that it's like really, really great. People have been losing weight, lowering their blood levels, blood sugar levels and all this kind of stuff. So it's obviously working. And the point that I wanted to raise here is that, somebody mentioned Tim Sheaf. Like, it's like, I just get so tired of people saying like, oh, I tried the vegan diet and it didn't work. The vegan diet, there is no such thing as a vegan diet. There is veganism, which is a philosophy of limiting your harm to animals and not exploiting them as much as is possible. And then there are 1,000,001 and more. There's an infinite variety of different diets that you can eat, ranging from incredibly unhealthy to incredibly healthy. And the beauty of this study was that they, brought into the patient groups, like, I guess, just a huge range of the diets that are going to be applicable, and people can, I guess, like, be custom fit with the right diet for them. So it says here, initially reported as 3 million, but corrected to 15 million to reflect the number of diet plans covering all relevant variations in people. So this research group has come up with 15 million combinations of plants to eat for these people that will, get them the perfect result, which is like getting rid of their type 2 diabetes and, hopefully, helping them probably lose weight and improve their blood sugar levels and all this kind of stuff. 15 million different plans constructed to custom tailor to target the specific needs of each individual. So when somebody like Tim Sheaf or anybody else for that matter comes up and says like, I tried everything, I highly doubt that you tried 15 million different eating plans. And this whole like Sean Baker, carnivore, whatever crowd, where they're like, well, all I care about is N=1 kind of stuff. Like, does it work for me? It's like, you should care about science, and you should be going to see actual professionals who can help you, because there are literally millions of combinations. So when I say 1,000,000+1, that's actually not enough. Like, there's an infinite variety of different options for you to eat and be healthy. So I just wanted to share that, and I got a kick out of that 15 million, and they had to correct it because I guess they printed it originally with 3 million, and it turns out it's 15 million. Insane. What does Jen say? All visitors to SeaWorld should be trapped for hours to see how the poor animals live. Yeah, and actually several people have kind of commented that is a little bit of karma there. And Raceler, if you want to see SeaWorld, grab some scuba gear and head to the ocean. Exactly. Yeah. And don't leave any plastic in there while you're there. This one was really cool. Just a Dr. Greger Nutrition Facts post. I don't know if there was a video to go with this. It was just an article that I read, but probably there's a video to go with it. I don't know. This one talked about the best food for slowing your resting heart rate. He first gives the reason of why you want a low resting heart rate, but basically you can see here that every 10 beat per minute increase is associated with a 10 to 20% increase in the risk of premature death. So if you have a high resting heart rate, that is very much a bad sign of health. That's not good. So if you're sitting around like, whatever, like 90, 100, 110 beats per minute or something like that, you're beating, almost like whatever it is, twice every second. That's not good for your health. It's not a good sign. And optimally, you want your resting heart rate, to be pretty low. I think around 50 is like considered ideal. 60 is like still pretty good. Anything really over that is not good. And basically they talk in this article about different studies that people have done about getting people to lower their heart rate. And so this is the part that I wanted to share with you guys. If you put people through a 12-week aerobic conditioning program of cycling, Stairmaster, and running on a treadmill, their resting heart rate can drop from around 69 to 66, about a 3 beat per minute drop. and of course they have to keep it up, stop exercising, and the resting heart rate goes right back up. But still, that's pretty good. You figure, 12 weeks of exercise gets you a 3-point drop. That's pretty good. But then they took another approach. They put people on a 3 months of beans, a cup of chickpeas or lentils or whatever. First randomized controlled trial of beans for the treatment of diabetes showed they did indeed successfully improve blood sugar control, dropping the subject's average A1C level from 7.4 to 6.9. And they also were the first study to assess the effect of bean consumption on heart health, and indeed one of the few to determine the effect on heart rate of any dietary intervention. And what they found was that it did reduce the heart rate quite a bit. So it says, how did the beans do in the study? They produced a 3.4 beat drop in the heart rate, so pretty much almost the same figure, in fact a little better, just as much as 250 hours on a treadmill. So pretty astounding stuff. If somebody doesn't see the power of this, that like you can obviously do both. You could eat the beans and the lentils and chickpeas and whatever, and you could exercise to get the maximum benefit. But imagine if you did that. The two of them combined would probably get you from 69 down to maybe 60. Like that's already pretty good. So definitely, I think it's nice to see these kind of articles. I love Dr. Greger. Definitely check this out or share this with people if you have any people who are not convinced yet of this kind of stuff. Jen. Oh man, your comment's awesome. How many of the diets from the previous thing involved drinking urine and starving for over a month? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was not one of the 15 million options. Pretty sure. I'd bet money on that. Vohan, yeah, mine's 60-ish. Yeah, that's great. And you want it even lower. So if you get a little bit more fit, you get a little bit more beans, you get a little bit more whole foods, a little bit more whatever, you can probably get it to even go lower. And a lot of people, man, they're sitting at 80, 90, or over that. And I mean, just think about the difference to your heart. Like if you're just chilling out, reading a book or something, if you're at let's say 55 versus 100, it's an extra 45 beats every minute. That's huge over your lifetime. I mean, it's no wonder that it shortens people's lives. So urine is an animal product anyway. Good one, Liam. So next one, failure to tackle link between meat and cancer, a dereliction of duty by government, says top scientists. So this was from, I guess February 10th. This is just basically an article saying that the UK should be doing more to tell people to not eat, red meat and processed meat, because there is definitely a, cancer-causing agent to it and quality to it. And I'll leave you here with this quote: "The failure of governments globally to engage on this public health scandal is nothing less than a dereliction of duty, both in regards to the number of cancer cases that could be avoided by ridding nitrites from processed meats, and in the potential to reduce the strain on increasingly stretched and underfunded public health services." So yeah, check this out. Share it the next time somebody tells you bacon, though. If you're talking to people, definitely it's pretty bad that this is not being taken seriously by the government. But again, like I showed you, we know why. It's because of the money interests that they have. Alright, so next, I want to give a shout out to this channel. I actually just came across this recently. I don't remember who shared it, but somebody shared this on Twitter recently, and I went on and watched this. I think it was Veganella. I think I follow Veganella on Twitter, and I think it was her that shared this. But this guy is an MD, he's a PhD, and he's got a channel called Nutrition Made Simple. I'll have the link in the comments. Definitely subscribe to this guy. He's got a very low subscriber count. I think he just started. There's only a few videos up. This is a roughly half-hour presentation that he does explaining the various health benefits of a whole food plant-based diet. And the guy seems very legit, very friendly, very cool. Definitely check it out. Show him some love. Say, let him know I sent you. And then, who knows? Hopefully see a lot more of this guy in the future. Next, we see more and more people taking on plant-based eating, athletes, all this kind of stuff. So this article is talking about the NBA, how they're partnering with the Beyond Meat company and other, vegan meats or whatever, plant-based meats, and trying to get more and more athletes on board and more people who are watching these, athletes and support the plant-based you know, products. So this is really great. I'm not into sports, so like watching sports, I should say, but like I'm sure, you know, probably you guys, if you are, you know more of these people than I do. But Kyrie Irving, I know he's been covered a bunch by Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan. There's like a whole bunch of people here. Like more and more people are getting on board, so this is awesome. And everybody's saying that it's, you know, making their game better. They're able to recover better. They feel better. You know, they're lighter. They're doing it for the environment. Whatever the case is, I'm just happy to see that more and more people are doing it, and it's good to see that these guys are, you know, trying to you know, do the right thing. And even if, you know, you could say, well, these guys are, you know, just the Beyond Meat people or the other companies, they're just trying to advance their business too. Well, yeah, they are, but at least it's not coming at the lives of animals. And you know, it's definitely better for people's health. Still don't think it's like super healthy to eat a lot of this kind of vegan junk food, but like an occasional treat of this, if you're eating primarily whole food plant-based, I think it's totally fine, especially if people have cravings or whatever. It's a great way to just, you know, choose compassion. You're in the store aisle, you know, you got the beef burger here, you got the Beyond Meat burger there, like boom, take that one. It's like that easy, and you've, you know, not killed an animal, and it's slightly, you know, better for your health anyway. I mean, it doesn't have cholesterol, it has, you know, lower saturated fat, etc., etc. So it's good. Here's another athlete. This was a soccer player in Manchester United, and this guy, Chris Smalling, he's saying that he's reaping all sorts of rewards. He's 29, which I guess for like professional level athletes playing soccer, that's probably getting kind of near towards the end of his career, maybe. I don't know like exactly how long people play, but I would think that that's probably, like, he's not very young. And I guess his girlfriend got him to go vegan, and you know, it's basically like you know, he's saying he's getting fitter and stronger. Here it is. I mean, this exact same weight as I was 3 years ago. We do a lot of testing on our hamstrings and on the bike in the gym, and I'm constantly hitting a lot of personal bests. I know I'm getting stronger and fitter. So it's great to see, you know, somebody like this sharing this message, explaining that, like, yeah, you know, I guess even in his team, he's saying that people are like stealing his food, and like he has to kind of like make sure he gets enough, because like people are like, oh, that looks good, and they just take his vegan food. So this is how it spreads. You know, I think like you really do, you know, get to people's hearts through their stomachs. Like they see that you're eating tasty vegan food, and that you can eat just about anything that they can, and then you realize, like, oh, it's, you know, less impact on the environment, better for your health, like doesn't kill the animals, like it's a no-brainer. So Bohan says, I love a good scran. I don't know what a scran is. The brain inside head, would you consider Heinz beans vegan junk food? Is that Heinz beans or Highs? I don't know. I'm assuming as you just misspelled it as Heinz beans. You mean like it's in a can? I don't know what that is, unless that's what you mean. Maybe that's what you mean. But yeah, I think canned beans, just to answer the question, if that is your question, I think it's certainly, you know, still health food. I think just look on the can to make sure it's not like loaded with anything else. So like if it should just be like beans and water. Sometimes they do have salt. Like check the amount of salt, because if it has like a crazy amount of salt, then, you know, like you might be kind of better off getting something else. But I've been able to find canned beans here in Hungary without salt added, and I think that's totally fine. I will say this though, I think the best thing with beans is to get dried and then just use your pressure cooker, pre-soak, rinse, and then use the pressure cooker so that they cook really fast and use less energy. But the reason why I say that is because for me, canned beans, when I eat them sometimes, I get gassy. And I never get gassy when I eat the beans that I cook, and I've like rinsed them and drained them, and then, so soaked them, rinsed them, and drained them, and then cooked them. And with the canned ones, I think what happens is sometimes they're just not cooked as much, or maybe they didn't, well, I would probably bet money that they don't soak them and then strain them, because that's probably like an extra, you know, step in the manufacturing process that they're not going to do. So that's my take on canned beans. But anyway, beans are healthy, even those, but they have added sugar, still not benefit. Bohan, yeah, I would agree with you. It's probably still way better than anything else that you can get, like pre-made and you know, pre-packaged, all this kind of stuff. At least it shouldn't have preservatives in it. It shouldn't have other kind of things. It might have a little bit of added, you know, sugar or salt, but again, you can get different varieties where sometimes you can get ones that are just totally plain. Okay, race lover. Pal doesn't want to recognize my last comment in sports accomplishments because he's jelly. Ooh, I didn't even see. What did you write? Let me see. Race lover. I'm into sports. I won the solo synchronized swimming event 3 years in a row in my state. Wow, cool, man. That's awesome. Congratulations. And I'm totally not jelly. I'm actually very impressed. Good for you. Just didn't see it. Let's see. And okay, yeah, you're welcome. I would love some KFC right now, says the troll. Okay, good. Okay. Yep. Very edgy indeed. Snoop Dogg goes plant-based. Actually, I saw this and I was like, oh, that's great. You know, a lot of people probably follow Snoop Dogg, but I don't think he's actually plant-based or vegan. There was a post of him with Rich Roll, and it just said plant-based. But then if you read through it, it says here that where was it? Yeah, here's the quote from Rich Roll. This was intended as a sort of a double entendre pun on Snoop's affinity for a certain plant upon which so much of his life is based. So he might not be plant-based, but he does love a good vegan burger, and I guess there were some photos of him eating a vegan burger. So anyway, I think the plant-based thing was more a reference to the marijuana. But anyway, hey man, if he's friends with Rich Roll and they're talking, maybe he'll plant some seeds, and who knows, maybe we'll see a vegan version of Snoop Dogg's cookbook coming out. That would be great. Leon says, I heard KFC has vegan fries nowadays. I don't know. I haven't eaten at a KFC maybe ever. I don't even remember if I ate at one when I was a hardcore meat eater. I don't know if I've ever eaten KFC. It was never appealing to me. Isn't KFC one of the chicken chains bringing a meatless chicken soon? Who knows? I don't know. If they're smart, they will, because that's the future. And we're going to get into that. So we got here, cultured meat may make climate change worse. This was an interesting article. They found some researchers who basically showed that it is potentially possible that meat grown in the lab might produce more CO2 than actual like grass-fed beef. They're talking about the methane that the cows produce. It doesn't last in the environment as long as the CO2. And I think they're kind of fudging some stuff there. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to really go through this. But the main thing that they're kind of focusing on is that they are assuming that the energy required to grow the lab meat is actually coming from fossil fuels. So I think if anything, like that's a pretty clear bias and a weird thing to assume for like a study like this, because as I already talked about in the previous live stream, we're already to the point that renewable energy is cheaper, or at least as cheap as any of the fossil fuel kind of energy creation options, and that's only set to get better and better in the sense that like the renewables are getting cheaper and cheaper. So I think to put out something like this is like really like calling into question again my kind of BS meter. Like I look at an article like this and I think like, okay, who paid to have this kind of run? This study to run with these kind of assumptions so that you can get these kind of headlines. But with all that said, I don't really like the idea of lab-grown meat. I certainly wouldn't oppose it if it can be shown that it really doesn't require the death of animals. A lot of times, the growing mediums that people use are actually coming from non-vegan sources. So they do take cells and stuff from the the dead bodies of like the embryos like coming out of like dairy cows and all this kind of stuff. So if they're doing stuff like that, I would not consider that vegan at all. If it's just simply literally like taking a little DNA sample from like a feather from a chicken, which I think some of the companies have been doing, like that I would say is like, okay, I could see that, and at least it would stop people like killing the chickens. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to eat it. It still has the saturated fat and cholesterol. Even when I was a meat eater, I wouldn't have been keen on eating it because of the whole "it's so unnatural" thing. Like, I don't know how many people are really gonna want lab-grown meat. I think the Beyond, which one is the one that doesn't use the genetically modified heme production thing? I think it's the Beyond Burger. I think the Impossible Burger is the one that is using it. And but the Beyond Meat is kind of, I think, the direction that people really should go in. It's like, it's close enough to taste like meat and look like meat and have that kind of texture that I think it gets enough people eating it. that that will make a a critical shift, and I think that will be good. Personally, I think it's just weird to be like growing actual meat. It's still way preferable, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's like worse than what we have now. So I'm not opposed to it. It's just personally, like, I think it's not as good as the Beyond Meat kind of idea. That's my 2 cents. Whoa, lots of comments. What did I miss? Yep, Leon, methane degrades into CO2 anyway, and that's exactly what I also thought, but I haven't had a chance to look into this study's details to actually see if they looked into that or not. Vohan says vegan McDonald's is in the UK. They have a vegan wrap in the Happy Meals. Awesome. And I think there's more and more vegan options there too. There's like some soup that you can get that's vegan and some other stuff. Okay, that's great. Generally, I almost stopped watching Stranger Things because they pretended KFC was called KFC back in those days. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that show is. I don't know. Anyway. Feed it to my dogs if it's ever cheap enough. You're talking about the lab meat, I guess. Yeah. Well, for cats or for maybe animals that are kept in sanctuaries, that might be a great option. So I think for like obligate carnivores, large cats, big cats that might be kept because of injuries or some other thing in the sanctuary, that might be the perfect thing. So yeah, I think that would be awesome. Leon stole my comments, pal. All Leon's good comments were for me. Dairy Fairy. Yep. Pop references 101. Okay. Okay. Great. Moving on. This is a crazy story that I had not heard about, but apparently this has been going on for years now in India. There's a lot of like religious kind of components to this, and a lot of clashing between the Hindus and the Muslims. But basically, what you have is you have Hindu cow protection vigilante groups that are like going around and making sure that like people aren't smuggling or slaughtering cows, which is illegal there. And so some Muslim farmers have actually been attacked and killed. I think it's like 46 people have been killed over the past like 3 or 4 years because they've been seen, either transporting cows or moving cows through fields and stuff like that. And this just shows you how widespread it is all over various parts of India. And it's pretty crazy. And this guy was a Muslim farmer. He was like 28 or something. The guy had a bunch of kids. He had 7 kids, and he was killed, beaten horribly, and then died a horrible, slow death. The police were in on it pretty much. If you read the article, it sounds like they worked together with these vigilante gangs, and then just crazy stuff. It's like an insane article. Like, people are literally killing other people over the idea that they might be actually killing the cows. But if you know from my previous streams and things that I've covered, like, India is actually very much also a meat-eating country, despite the kind of like popular kind of myth that that they're all vegans or vegetarians. They most certainly are not. And also, they still exploit cows. They still milk them, and they still there are still tons of cows that are like left to kind of like scrounge for food, and they're not really taken care of. Like, if you see a lot of footage from India, like, it's kind of a weird thing to kill somebody over the idea that they are harming a cow while they themselves are harming other animals as well, and the cows too, but not in as a direct way as killing them. It's just like a really weird thing that I just found so much irony in this like story. And this poor guy was brutally killed, and his kids are left orphans now, and his wife is left to raise them. So crazy stuff. Check it out if you're interested. But this was quite a sad story to me, just all in all. It's like not good. What am I missing out here? Shoe dairy. Yeah. Because Hindus have beliefs about cows, not veganism. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Thanks for being polite. Dairy producer numbers plummet by record levels. This is from Farmers Weekly, and it's just really showing you that, yeah, the dairy industry is on the ropes. Hopefully it will be gone within the next 5 to 10 years, as they are often saying. The trends are all going down in various countries. People are ditching dairy. People are waking up more and more to realize that it is extremely unhealthy, extremely bad for the environment, extremely unethical, and bad for the animals as well. So I love seeing stories like this. It's great. Hopefully it keeps going, and we won't be talking about the dairy industry in the next, 5-10 years anymore. Leon says, they treat the cows as sacred beings until they bring them across the borders where they're slaughtered for lather. Yep, that's the other thing too. They are often sold. Sometimes, they're told that the cows are going to be brought to, sanctuaries. But, I mean, let's be realistic. I'm sure that that's willful ignorance of just wanting to ignore the fact that somebody's buying their cow for cheap, and then, like they have to know that it's not getting brought to a sanctuary. That's just insane. Anyway, vegan cheese and fake meat. You guys have probably seen, and I've covered it already, and lots of other people have covered it already, but there is a huge backlash from the industry trying to get vegan products to not be allowed to be labeled as like meat or milk or whatever, because if it doesn't have the animal products in it, they don't want it to be labeled as such. And this is a opinion piece that I think was pretty interesting and largely well balanced. Like, they were basically saying like it's not smart, and it's not even smart financially for these companies to be fighting this, because if you look at it, a lot of these large animal agriculture industry animal product producing companies are actually now heavily invested in the vegan versions of their own products. So they're kind of fighting against their own interests later, if they do this, and if they're heavily invested enough. And at some point they do have to switch their business. So this is a pretty interesting opinion piece, and I think it was fairly well written as well. So check it out. Here is an option. You can see just one of the places where this is happening. This is coming from the UK. Blue Heron, a small vegan cheese shop in Vancouver. Oh, sorry, this is in British Columbia. I'm sorry, this is in Canada. Sorry about that. This has been, they have been told by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency that they must stop using the word cheese to make and market their products. So this is a good article. It really lays bare kind of the stuff that the owner of this company is struggling with. They won't tell her what she can use. They are just simply telling her that if she continues using the word cheese, she can be fined. So you can see it's like a really huge thing. $50,000 summary conviction and $250,000 conviction by indictment. So it's just really crazy, and they're pointing out how the rules are really subjective. Other companies, other places are able to use things and get away with certain things, and she is not, and it's going to cost her a bunch of money in legal fees. It's costing her a bunch of money in like redesign fees, because she has to redesign all her labels and stuff like that. And it's crazy. They're just like sitting on it and not even getting back to her soon, so she can just continue on with her business. All she's trying to do is run a vegan business, and yeah, it's like very clearly I think the government is in on this whole thing and trying to protect the interests of the dairy farmers and producers. So dairy farmers rage as Britain's first vegan cheesemonger opens. So this was one, I thought the other one was the UK. This was in the UK, and this was La Fromagerie, which I think means fake cheesery. I don't know if my French is pretty much non-existent. Somebody might know, but it says very clearly in the title of their business here, plant-based cheesemonger. And she's also being threatened with the same kind of thing, that she shouldn't have, cheese in the title, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and it's ruffling feathers. Of course, the dairy industry, Dairy UK, has written in an objection, and they don't want her to use the word cheese. Next. Oh, Leon confirms. Oh, great. Fromagerie means cheese shop. Okay, and then she's saying faux-magerie. Okay, great. So it's a play on words, and that's why they're, kind of really being naive if they think that people won't understand that that is obviously not a dairy cheese. Cool. Okay. Brain inside ahead. I was writing words peace and love, go vegan on the Safeway doors in the frozen food section when it would fog up, and now the doors don't do that anymore. Do you think they did that on purpose? I don't know. Maybe they cleaned them with something or sprayed them with something. Who knows? I don't know, man, but I like that idea, because it's not permanent, and you won't get in trouble, hopefully, for doing that. You guys are funny. All right, so Teen launches on-demand vegan milkman service. This is why I said bring back the milkman if it's a vegan milkman. So this person, I think he's like 19 or something. Yeah, 19-year-old Steven Macedo recently launched Leche. I think that's Spanish for milk. A monthly plant-based milk subscription service in Los Angeles. The service allows you to sign up and you get stuff delivered to your door. $40 a month equals 5 quarts of dairy-free milk each month. And he's using organic, non-GMO nuts, seeds, and fruits, blah, blah, blah. And I just think this is awesome. If anybody's watching this and you live in the LA area, check out this Leche and support that business, man. This is great. I love it. It's in glass bottles, I think. I don't know, maybe that's plastic, but at least they're probably going to be reusable and stuff. So, or maybe just push the person to use glass. I think this is awesome. So check it out. Next. Burger shop goes vegan and sales spike 400% in one day. It's like, that's crazy. They have like quadrupled their business since switching to an all vegan burger menu. And I've covered these guys. This is a company in Finland. This was what are they're called? Bun to Bun. I think I talked about this in one of the previous streams, and they are awesome. They switched their entire menu to be 100% vegan, and they're using the Beyond Burger as the main ingredient. And it says right here, the sales skyrocketed right away. Our sales grew 400% right from the first day we introduced our all-vegan burger menu based on the Beyond Burger on December 12th. Now it's been a month, and the clients just keep coming and loving our burgers. And I do believe that they are a chain, so they have a couple of locations. I don't think they have a big chain, but hey, you know, more power to them. If you're in Finland and watching this, like, go over and get a vegan burger with these guys. So happy to see this kind of stuff. So this is just awesome. Here it is, you know, compared to animal-based beef, the Beyond Burger carries more iron and more protein, and it offers less saturated fat, total fat and calories, as well as no cholesterol. So they're talking about how veganism is on the rise in Finland. There's all these different McDonald's vegan options. And yeah, it's just great to see this. I'm super thrilled. And this is kind of the thing that I'm talking about. Like, the dairy and the meat industries really have to be careful with how they try to attack these vegan, you know, products, because you have to realize, like, I forget which one of the big meat producers, but they have a large stake in the Beyond Meat company. So it's like, I think is it Tisco? I forget which one it is. One of the, or Tyson Foods, I think, is one of the big ones. Anyway, so it's like they have to be careful because they're kind of like endangering their own financial prospects. Like, these kind of figures are really, you know, impressive, and yeah, like, I'm sure they don't want to miss out on these profits. Next, vegan brand debuts Uber milk to fight dairy industry's nutrition claims. I'm going to do a separate video about a ridiculous video that I saw with Jamie Oliver, everybody's favorite person. That guy is just unbelievable. I'm going to do a separate video about that. But they recently had a little thing with him and some other jerk. I don't even know the other guy's name. And they were going around basically implying how plant milks are going to be, you know, dangerous for people to switch out from dairy because there's no regulation about what kind of fortified kind of things get added to some plant milks and not others, and that people are confused and they don't understand how to, you know, they can get the same nutrition from milk in a plant milk and all this kind of stuff. So I just think this is like the perfect answer to that. It's like, just, you know, more and more companies are going to do this because I'm sure probably they don't want to deal with this kind of like stupid, you know, kind of argument from the dairy pushers of the world. And so this you know, Khalifa Farms is going to introduce this oat-based Uber milk. They're going to be available in Whole Foods markets in the spring. They're going to have these flavors: unsweetened vanilla, and chocolate. And it's fortified with pea protein, sunflower and flaxseed oils, and other vitamins and minerals that create plant-based milk that is nutritionally on par with dairy. So they're going to be looking at all the kind of stuff that has the same thing across the board, and people won't be able to, you know, give anybody a hard time for drinking plant milk. So this is great. Yeah, Jen, Tim, his favorite person, he's friends with Jamie. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he'll be like cooking up some lamb or something at some point. Who knows? I wouldn't put anything past that guy at this point. This is another one. Just goes to show you again how the vegan businesses are thriving. Austin Pizzeria goes vegan because vegetarianism is obsolete. I couldn't agree more. these guys have basically switched to all vegan pizzas, and yeah, they've got, you know, beet pepperoni, sweet Italian sausage, almond ricotta, all this kind of stuff in vegan versions, obviously, and they're thriving and doing great. And so here it is. There's no such thing as ethical vegetarianism, and I say this as someone who was vegetarian for over 20 years before finally going fully vegan a couple years ago. People do not go vegetarian anymore. People go vegan. Cannot agree more with this person. Again, if you're anywhere near this Austin, Texas, you know, place, go check out their pizzas. They look delicious anyway in these pictures. And yeah, buy some pizzas from these guys. Austin Pizzeria, what is their name? Lil Nona's Pizzeria. So go check them out. Oh man, Leon, that's a good comment. All right, Hellmann's goes full-on veganuary on social media. So as some people may or may not know, Hellmann's made a vegan mayonnaise, and they went crazy on social media recently, and you know, basically started pushing all this like vegan recipes using their vegan mayo as a you know, condiment or garnish or whatever. And the interesting thing to note here is really the point here. After a long legal battle over the usage of the word mayo by vegan product Just Mayo that started in 2014, Unilever, owned Hellmann's, developed its own vegan mayonnaise and called it carefully crafted dressing and sandwich spread. So this is, again, shows you, like, these guys were fighting tooth and nail to try and, like, literally stamp out the vegan competition because they didn't want them to use the word mayo. And then after they pretty much realized, like, oh, it's like a losing battle and people are, you know, interested in this kind of thing, oh, we'll just make our own product. You know, this is what will happen to these companies. They are seeing that, like, there is profit and money to be made, and they are going to switch. They have to. There's no other real choice for them. And that's what these guys are doing. They can call it whatever they want. People are still buying it. And when they see that, they're going to be a lot less likely to try to attack, you know, somebody making a vegan mayo, because they know that they don't want to, you know, they don't want to fight themselves. You can see here at the end, it says, in 2016, the vegan certified spread, which Unilever sells under its Best Foods brand in some regions, launched in the United States and Canada before debuting in the UK last year with the new vegan mayo branding. So they've literally started calling it, you know, mayo as well. So just really interesting. I still think, you know, support more ethical companies than Unilever. But for if you don't have any other options, like, hey, at least buy the vegan one from these guys and show them that there is a market for it. So I think that's good. Vohan says, I just brought their vegan mayonnaise. Okay, cool. So you haven't tried it yet. Yeah, definitely. Hope you do like it. And generally was right. Yeah, I missed your comment there earlier, but yeah, they did try to stop them, and it's really just goes to show you basically how unethical they are. And also that how pointless it is to try and fight this, because it's a tide that is, you know, not something they can turn back. So, yeah, and let's move on. This is why I say they're not going to turn it back. Year of the Vegan. Record numbers sign up for Veganuary. On Sunday alone, 14,000 people pledged to go meat-free for the first month of the new year. They basically had record number of people. Here it is. Since the movement started 5 years ago, participant numbers have more than doubled each year, and a total of more than 250,000 people in 193 countries have signed up. This is a real global movement, and it is gaining steam. There are more and more people going vegan. Don't believe the hype of these idiot, you know, ex-vegan videos. There's like, for every, you know, one of those, there's probably 100 people going vegan. It's like, maybe more. It's definitely working, and the companies are going to keep you know, catering to this market because they just want to make money. You know, this is what it comes down to. Generally says vegan mayo is really easy and cheap to make at home. I've made it once, I'll be honest, and I haven't made it since. But I also am not a big mayo person anyway, so I don't know. Like, but yeah, I mean, it's convenient. This is what I think is what it comes down to. That, like, if you're in the store and there's two, you know, products on the shelf and one of them has animal cruelty and the other one doesn't, that's what you need for people to be able to just be like, oh, okay, well, I'll just get this one. And a lot of people are so lazy or like time, you know, short on time, they're not gonna do it at home, but so they'll just buy the animal one. But if there's a plant-based one right next to it, it just makes it that much easier to convince them to try it. It's okay. I only had a tiny amount, but not sure it's better than veganese. Okay. Fair judgment. Leon, I never liked mayo or any other sauce that's 90% pure fat. I guess I liked it for a while, but like I don't know, I haven't had it in a long time anyway. Like even before I was vegan, I pretty much stopped eating it when I just tried to start eating healthier. Okay, next. Here we go. Why is it becoming more popular? Well, young people are, ditching milk and going to plant-based alternatives. So this was a little video. More than a quarter of 18 to 24-year-olds have either reduced the dairy consumption or completely cut it out in the past 2 years, according to a survey conducted by the BBC. So it's like this is great. It says this person who's quoted, Becky Ramsey, 23. I know that buying alternative milk is better for the world, but it's more of a health choice for me. It's kind of impossible to escape from what's going on in this world, and how what we do every day has an impact on the environment. So it's great. Young people are ditching dairy in droves, and this is great. Baby boomers are now going vegan in record numbers. So check this article out. The let's see. The Telegraph reports that over the past few years, vegan movement has become increasingly popular. Doctors are touting the benefits, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying that it's largely driven by younger generations, especially millennials. But an increasing number of people over 55 are going vegan, predominantly for health and animal welfare reasons. The shift is notable given that there are about 76 million baby boomers in the U.S. alone. The generation makes up roughly 29% of the population. That's close to a third. So, again, lots of people, when you start getting older, you start getting all these health problems, and with the great documentaries that are out there now, Forks Over Knives, the What the Health, all these other kind of movies, people are starting to realize, like, oh, I don't have to be on diabetes meds and cholesterol lowering meds and, blood pressure meds and all these other kinds of things, and, here's another quote, arthritis, and, all these kinds of things are linked very heavily to animal product consumption. People are ditching these products and feeling better. It's like then they make the ethical connection after. It's awesome to see. So it's cool. Let's see. Leon says, not sure why I really disliked Alpro coconut yogurt too, but I guess I just don't like fats like that. My cats love tofuti. I don't. What is tofuti, Mr. Pool? Welcome. I don't know what that is. Leon, I like nuts too, so it's not about fat itself. It's just something. Well, it's probably about the oils or something in that form. Okay, moving on. Next one. Abuse of animals rife on farms across Europe. There is an auditor that put out this report. It's basically put out by the European Court of Auditors, ECA, and they revealed that economic interests often trump welfare rules. Wow, big surprise there. People do the wrong thing when it comes to making more money. It's like, who would have thunk it? Our audit and other reports show it's difficult to introduce improvements on intensive farms and enforce laws. And they basically talk about how the animal welfare is risked, the human welfare and health is risked because of the inappropriate use of, what do you call it? What are the things that you give to people? Antibiotics, thank you. Sorry, I'm losing my mind here. Antibiotics use, also, just the things that even are in the law, like, to not dock the tails of the pigs and all this kind of stuff. It's been illegal in the EU since 2001, but it is still widespread. One Romanian farm visited by ECA had evidence of tail docking, but was simultaneously receiving EU funding to improve animal well-being. So they also point out that a lot of these farms are actually getting money to improve these welfare conditions, and they're not doing it. And there's no there's no consequences to this. So I just wanted to say that everybody should read this article. I think this is a really important one. And they talk about, of course, the live transport conditions and other things. And they also talk about how these things are going on for years and years and years. You can say here, achingly slow response to European guidance was a regularly cited issue. Italy, for example, has taken 13 years to tackle forced molting, where hens are starved, dehydrated, and deprived of light until they lose all their feathers. The practice is used to boost egg production, but along with the suffering involved, forced molting has been linked to salmonella infection risks. If anybody doesn't know about this, I've read about it previously. It's basically like your egg-laying hens are getting to the point where they're no longer productive, And this is kind of like one of these, like probably like a biological function. If you literally starve the birds and keep them in the dark, their bodies get this reaction that like is like they know they're gonna die, and then you basically they lose all their feathers and all this kind of stuff, and they just ramp up their egg production because they probably still want to like reproduce. I'm assuming it's some kind of like biological reaction, and then it's like, so you've like tortured them to the point of like almost deaths just so you could get a couple more extra eggs out of them before you kill them anyway. It's just absolutely horrific, and this is something that has been, you know, apparently banned, and Italy has been told to stop doing it, and they haven't taken action for 13 years. So it's like none of this stuff like matters. People are like, oh, but my country's better, and we take better care of our animals, and it's like, yeah, you have better laws in the books, maybe it's arguable, but I know here in Hungary there was a big stink when you know, when they joined the EU, they knew, the chicken farmers knew that they would have to increase the size of the cages for the hens by, I don't know, however many centimeters. It's like some tiny bit of space, and they had something like, I don't know if it was like 9 or 10, or I don't even know, maybe it was more years to do it. And then literally like a few months before it was set to like be like, okay, go time, like you have to have it implemented, then you saw all these protests by the farmers being like, oh, this is going to put me out of business. I don't have the kind of money to like buy these big cages, and I'm going to have to increase the price of the eggs and the blah, 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 and the consumers and the whatever, and think of the poor people. And it's like, you had like 9 years, 10 years, whatever it was to implement this. Like, why didn't you take some of your profit along the way and get it done along, you know, it's like very clearly obvious that like these farmers are never going to do the right thing when it comes to the choice between making more money or like the animals suffering. It's just absolutely ridiculous. This article has lots of great examples. I definitely recommend people check this out. They really show you how corrupt this is. They also talk about the exceptions where this ECA doesn't even have jurisdiction because the farm size is too small, and also like not enough animals or whatever. And I'm sure that it's even worse than these guys know. But you know, this is this is the part that like I'll leave you with from this article. Describing his feelings about the welfare risks animals face in the EU, I'm not going to even pronounce the guy's name, said he believed the words of Mahatma Gandhi that the greatness of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. I would say the greatness of the EU could also be judged on this. And he doesn't say it, but I'm going to say it's crap. So, yeah. Mr. Poole, answered it's soy-based. Okay, cool. Plant-based cream cheese and sour cream. Okay, good. That's good. I haven't had that before, but okay, cats love it. That's cool. It sounds good. I don't know. Maybe you could make like an actual I don't know, cheesecake with it or something. That could be pretty good, I'm sure. This is an article that I just want to share, not really because it's anything remarkable. I mean, it's a 19-year-old who was working on a farm. He was caught on camera kicking and punching calves, yeah, he got sentenced, and he faced a barrage of, you know, abuse as he left the court. People are yelling at him and saying how he's an animal abuser and all this kind of stuff, and rightfully so. They should shame him. But here's the part that you know, kind of got to me. So it says, during the court hearing today, the court heard that at the time of the attacks, he had been asked to work 60-hour weeks and had been worried about his grandmother who was in the hospital. So they basically let him off. So it says, your behavior was absolutely unacceptable. The offense was deliberate, sustained attack where you kicked the animals, but we take into account your age, previous good character, and the pressure you were working under. We take into account that you cooperated with the inspector and said you were disgusted with yourself. So he was ordered to carry out a 30-day rehabilitation activity and 150 hours of unpaid work, and told to pay the costs, 300 pounds and 115-pound victim surcharge. So he's not able to own and keep animals for 2 years. But, I mean, if you think about this, it's pretty much a joke. And I'm not really including this article to really be harsh on this guy. I genuinely do feel bad for people working in these industries. It's a terrible place to work. And this system of cruelty that we've, you know, talked about before is what causes these people to basically lose their minds and behave in these ways. These are not kind of like isolated incidents. These are not bad people in the sense that, like, I truly don't believe that this kid grew up thinking, like, I'm going to start abusing animals. It's like he probably was taking out his frustrations because it's like he probably saw other people doing it, for one. And when you are just surrounded, like, you know, like your whole work day, and he's working 60-hour weeks, he's probably doing, you know, 12-hour days, 14-hour days. Like, when you're surrounded by just nothing but just abject cruelty and violence over and over again, it desensitizes you. You just literally go crazy. I mean, it's just as bad as people being sent off into war. And this is another reason why we should stop supporting, you know, these industries with our purchases. I just think, you know, this person is literally kind of like a product of the system itself. It's not just this one bad apple. The system itself is this cruel, that this is what it does to people too, and it's very common. So yeah, and that was actually from 2 years ago, that article. So this one is even farther back, and the reason why I bring this up is because I actually just came across this recently. So this was from 2013. This poor lady was a worker in the RSPCA. So for anybody who's watching from the US, you may not know what that is. It's basically I think it's Royal Society for Protection of Cruelty Against Animals or something like that. But it's a UK organization. It's meant to basically safeguard animals and make sure that people aren't being cruel to animals. And the reason why I want to bring this up is that you know, this lady was working there, and she was a whistleblower. She basically made the claims that you know, the association did not do all it could to protect all the animals, and that sometimes dogs were killed when they were healthy, and she got sick and tired of this, and she couldn't do it, and she was constantly in kind of like bickering kind of arguments with her supervisors, and eventually they basically kind of like kicked her out / she quit, I believe, and she ended up being like really depressed, and people were starting to slag her, and the RSPCA did a terrible job trying to call into question her character and all this kind of stuff. And she was a huge devotee to her animals, and she actually had some personal tragedy in her life. Her partner had committed suicide, and then all of this kind of like spiraled out of control, and she killed herself too. The only reason I'm giving this story is that, you know, everybody, again, like I said, in their own country, people are consuming these animal products. They all think that, like, well, the UK, we have the highest animal standards and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you have the whistleblower from the society, from this association, you know, that's aimed at reducing the cruelty to animals, and she's basically saying, look, this is how bad it is, and they, you know, bully her to the point that she literally kills herself. It's like that association is nothing to be proud of, and I'm just, yeah, I was kind of shocked to read this. It's an old story, it's not new, but yeah, it just kind of goes to show you, like, there is, it's a systemic thing that stinks from beginning to end, and yeah, I don't trust any of these, you know, humane, whatever kind of labels. The RSPCA does allow, you know, gassing of pigs. They allow the maceration of chicks. They allow the gassing of chicks. I mean, it's just, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. This one is an interesting one. NatWest is, I guess, like a bank or some kind of like loan organization. This poor woman called in. She wanted to get a loan for £400 so she could do a nutrition course. She had gone vegan after her daughter had all this like health issues. I think she had cancer, if I remember it, and she became vegan, and she wanted to actually go and study nutrition so she could help people adopt a vegan diet as well. So yeah, here it is. She said she and her family had only turned vegan after her daughter suffered a cancer scare. I told him I was an active vegan, and he proceeded to say that all vegans should be punched in the face. The woman who wants to remain anonymous told BBC Radio Bristol. So it's like, I asked him what he meant by that, and he said it was in regards to chalk activism, which is when activists draw pictures of animals and then write messages like "friends, not food" on pavements. He said vegans were doing it where he lived, and that vegans were forcing their beliefs on him. So this guy, you know, obviously, I think, you know, flipped out on the phone, and because when you call into these banks and other kind of companies, they record the conversations, and you know, the company says it has launched an investigation into the complaint, and they offered the mother, you know, the £400 for the course, as well as £185 in compensation. The employee is being subjected to internal disciplinary procedures, but they haven't fired the guy. You know, it's like he calls, or sorry, he gets a call from a customer or potential, you know, customer, and he tells him that all vegans should be punched in the face after she tells him that she's vegan. It's like, wow. I'm just surprised they didn't fire him, honestly. Like, and you know, they're saying like, okay, we're going to train all the other staff and, you know, make sure that this doesn't happen again or whatever. But like, wow, you know, yeah, Jen, absolutely right. Triggered much? Like, holy smokes. Like, how can you be this dumb that like this is your reaction to somebody who's calling in for a loan application? But yeah, vegans are the bad ones, and they're the ones forcing their opinions, forcing their beliefs on him. I love it. You know, it's like you write some messages in chalk, and that's forcing your beliefs. But yeah, going and killing the animals, that's not forcing your beliefs. Anyway, more crazy stories about you know, hundreds and maybe, I don't even know, thousands of poor animals being killed when a huge semi tractor trailer truck crashed. This is in where was this? I think this is Canada, or where is this? Yeah, this is in Canada. And just, you know, all these like chickens got killed by the side of the road. It's horrible. The article is just, you know, really crazy. It's like it just focuses on how much of a traffic hassle it made, and doesn't even worry about like, yeah, you know, it's not immediately clear how many of the chickens were captured and how many escaped. You know, they were just running around getting hit by cars and all this kind of stuff. It's like it was big enough to haul hundreds of chickens. Well, I'm sure it was probably more than hundreds, and who knows how many died. It's just absolutely tragic that this people see this and they're just like, oh yeah, we got to clean it up. There's, you know, crappy traffic accident, you know, slowed me down. It's terrible. Like, people just don't change. Here's another one. This one was in January. Here, this is a PETA thing where they're basically encouraging you to call Cargill, which is the company that the meat producer was being sent to. This was turkeys. Same thing, flipped over. You know, a bunch of birds got killed. It's horrible. They talk about other examples where the same producer for this company has had all these accidents. Some of them the driver was charged, some of them not. I mean, it's just insane. Like, there's one of these like seemingly every couple weeks, and crazy. Angry vegan, can't believe he's so upset over some chalk drawings. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, that just goes to show you like how deeply it affects people. They really take offense to it because they know subconsciously that there's truth in those words written on the wall or on the floor. And so when they see that, they're like, oh my, I can't like internalize this. I can't like deal with it. So I lash out. You know, it's like it's a like self-protection, self-preservation attempt for them. This one, unfortunately, I can't show you guys the article because it says here that it's expired and no longer available. But this one was a new, latest, you know, disease found among the pigs being kept in Japan, and the government warns of extremely serious phase. There were like all these like, it was like a swine flu, latest, you know, version spreading there. This was at the beginning of February, February 6th, and unfortunately, I don't have the article to share with you guys, but I can just tell you about it. It was basically, you know, saying that it's spreading. They don't know where it's coming from. Some of the animals can be vaccinated against this disease, but they don't want to actually do it because then they lose some kind of like status, and it will be like an economically, you know, bad thing for them. So it's like they know they can actually vaccinate the pigs against it, but they don't want to do it because it's going to hurt their like export, you know, credit or whatever. Fewer people will want their diseased pigs being sent from Japan. So it's just absolutely horrific. Further shows you how cruel these industries are, and they only care about profit. Yeah, Leon, good point. I mean, maybe the pork producers called them and said, yeah, we don't want this article up. Can you please take it down? Who knows? I don't know. And, you know, more, you know, just kind of showing you guys, like, the potential health impacts and just the environmental impacts, too. Seattle caught salmon found to contain cocaine, antidepressants, and pain relievers. This is from February 7th. They basically showed this study. They did a toxicology report on salmon caught in different places, and they said, we analyzed samples for 150 compounds, and we found that 61% of them were detected in effluent. So we know these are going into the estuaries. And they gathered you know, from migratory juvenile Chinook salmon and resident staghorn and sculpin, and yeah, they found chemicals were found not only in the tissue of the fish but in the water. So it's like if somebody thinks that, you know, like Tim, you know, Sheaf, or anybody else that like, oh, I'm gonna eat, you know, wild caught salmon or wild caught anything, like this is what you're getting. You know, maybe the cocaine and the antidepressants, you know, that he got through that might have, you know, boosted his mood. I don't know. Yeah, Leon says the same thing. No wonder Tim felt better after eating the salmon. Generally, is that why the salmon looks so happy, or is it heard about Tim? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's terrible. next, I gotta hurry up, guys, because my kids are getting. Oh, we still got a lot to cover. I might have to cut this one short, but anyway, and do another stream later. But Canada Goose reporting increased profits from a year ago. They're going to open up a new place, a new manufacturing facility. If anybody doesn't know about Canada Goose, they're horrifically cruel. They use coyote fur. They use down goose, goose down in their jackets. They charge exorbitant prices for a stupid jacket that has like multiple layers of cruelty, and just it's unbelievable. And Dolly Foster, wild caught cocaine, nice, yeah. Canada Goose jackets, are they humane? The controversy explained. Newsweek article. It's just pretty ridiculous that this article tries to be kind of like a balanced report of these stupid jackets that cost up to $1,500, and their shares have skyrocketed. They reported like really high profits, all this kind of stuff, and they're expanding, and all these like trendy people are wearing them. This actor, and I don't even know, all these other idiots that don't know any better. And basically people are protesting and saying that they're cruel, and then they're trying to address it in this article, and of course they have like representation from the company itself, and they're saying that no, we use better traps. It's not the teeth that like literally bite into the leg. It's like these rubber coated things that just grab them and hold them so that it doesn't actually rip through their legs. And it's like they point out in the article that like, yeah, the animals sometimes bite through their legs or sometimes rip them off anyway because they're so cold and they can't even feel what they're like biting at, and when they're trying to bite the jaw that's holding them, they bite their leg off. And also, even if let's say that it was a totally painless thing, the animals are freaking out because they can't move. And like if it's a mother, their cubs are going to be left to starve. It's incredibly cruel regardless of how the animal is being held in the trap. The trap itself is not the most cruel part of it. It's the fact that they're being caught and killed so that somebody can put a stupid piece of trim on their jacket. And yeah, I just got kind of frustrated with this article because it just wasn't like that good, and they were just trying to justify it. And also they had video evidence about the geese that they use being very roughly handled and all this kind of stuff, and they didn't really address how that's not cruel. And if I understand it right, Canada Goose, I think, basically claims that they only use the down from geese that are being killed for meat anyway, so that they're not being like repeatedly ripped out while they're alive. They're being killed, then they're being plucked. But I don't buy that for a minute. I'm sure they're just buying whatever is cheapest. So like I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other. And it's just horrifically cruel. There's no reason for this. And again, to show you how cozy industry and government is, feds bundle up in $45,000 worth of Canada Goose products. This is in Canada. They did some kind of internal audit, and they found that almost $45,000 of Canada Goose products have been purchased by federal companies over the last 3 years alone. And yeah, they're basically saying, oh, it's because of the extreme weather conditions and all this kind of crap. It's like, I'm sorry, there are vegan options available. There's many different things you could wear. And this is a status symbol. They also admitted that they bought these for people that were visiting, so like heads of state from other countries and stuff. When they come to visit and tour in some places, they get like one of these stupid jackets to give to the people. So it's just absolutely absurd. Really goes to show you how the government just looks at the money, and they'll just keep doing that. Yeah, Jen, I totally agree. Not gonna read it out loud, but yeah, F Canada Goose, absolutely. Yep, cowards. Mighty Duke, you're absolutely right. People just don't even, I don't know. I think some people probably don't know, but I'm sorry. I think if you buy a jacket that's $1,500, like I'm pretty damn sure you're gonna look at like what it's made of. Like I don't buy this excuse of like somebody saying like they didn't know what was, what it was made of. It's crazy. Yeah, Mighty Duke, the down isn't a performance product. Synthetics are warmer. I'm sure that there's many different options available that are just as warm or better. I'm certain of that. It's just absolutely like a thing of like tradition, or people think it's like natural or whatever. I don't know, it's just stupid stuff. Here's another thing showing the corruption of government. This is again in Canada. I don't know too much about this, I'll be honest. So if for any of the Canadian viewers that might be watching, you guys probably know more about this than I do, but please do look into it. If the people in the U.S. are watching, this probably very closely, mirrors the situation that we had at Standing Rock, where the Native peoples were trying to fight the oil pipeline going through their protected areas. This is basically a trans-mountain pipeline that would be endangering killer whales and a whole bunch of other things like coastal sea life, and of course the native people that also rely on those sea creatures for food. And they're basically saying that the environmental assessment clearly shows that there would be damage, but the economic interests are overriding this, and they are trying to push this through regardless. And here, this Chief Bob Chamberlain, Vice President of the UBCIC, this is the First Peoples, group, said indigenous people have sacred connections to all animals, and that the killer whale represents clans and houses that are important to First Nations governance. Chamberlain said the fact that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stated that the pipeline will be built makes a mockery of the consultation process. I'm sure that that is the case. And here, Elizabeth May, leader of the Federal Green Party, said only 90 permanent jobs and 2,500 temporary jobs would be created by the pipeline expansion, while many more jobs could be created by cleaning up the oil sands. They're prepared to say that extinction, the violation of human rights of indigenous peoples, the destruction of our coastline, and the feeding and fueling global warming at a time when we know it's now or never to protect human civilization from our demise is valuable, but not as valuable as the economic benefits, May said. The evidence is not only lacking, there is none for economic benefits to outweigh what we've studied and found to be devastating consequences. So if you are in Canada, definitely try to get behind fighting this and help the people out in British Columbia. And if any Native peoples are watching this, please know that I do support your fight against this, but I would also say that you should stop eating these wonderful animals and look to see what else can be done, and if nothing else, just for your own health as well, because these are some of the most polluted animals that are on the earth, because they're the highest apex predator in that environment, and you are poisoning yourself, literally. What are you saying? You guys have said a lot of stuff. They're literally heated jackets now. Awesome idea. Mike the Vegan did a Canada Goose versus vegan jacket comparison video. Oh, cool. I think I may have seen that, but I don't remember. Trying to steal my awesome comments again. Good memory. Stop him. Yeah, sorry, Race. I can't stop what people think or say. If I could, I think that would be cool, because I'd make the whole world vegan. Okay, and what benefits? Yeah, exactly. The benefits to line their pockets, Mighty Duke. That's the benefits. Next time Pal punches you in the baby. Jeez, man. You guys are crazy. Alright, back to the next article. Here we go. Crazy stuff. Ecological Armageddon. There was a study over the course of 25 years in Germany where they looked at nature preserves. So these are places that were already protected conservation areas, and they found that over that time period of 25 years, there was a shocking plunge in the number of insects. So what did they say? Where was the amount? Sorry guys, I'm trying to... Here it is. The annual average fell by 76% over the 27-year period measured, and the fall was even higher, 82% in summer when insect numbers reached their peak. So we've lost 3/4 of the insects in these areas, and these are already protected conservation areas. So this is insect abundance fallen by 75% over the last 27 years. It's insane, and they said there's no kind of weather pattern or anything else that would explain this. This is probably a combination of the climate change, but also, more importantly, all the pesticide use and chemicals and all the other kinds of things. So, yeah, this is just crazy. Yeah, crazy stuff. Definitely check this out. There's another equally alarming or even worse article. I don't know how this article exactly compares, but there is another study here that shows that they fear 100% insect extinction in the next 100 years if people don't change. So they're looking at this study, and it was published this week, added to previous assertions that we're headed toward global trouble, suggesting that over 40% of insect species are threatened with extinction right this minute. And they're basically saying that yeah, in 50 years only half are left, and in 100 years we'll have none. Obviously, I don't think, you know, this is probably like the claim about the fishless oceans. It's not that there won't be a single fish left, but past some critical tipping point, you know, it's almost like there's nothing left, and it's just, yeah, it's just crazy. You can see here the rate of extinction for animals. This is, I think, percentage of the total, yeah, it says evaluated species. And you can see what a huge increase there has been since, you know, the mid-1800s or so, and that it just keeps speeding up in our modern day. And insects and, you know, smaller species are, you know, just as bad or worsely affected than the larger ones. I mean, it's just insane. Like, this is very scary times. We really are living the, you know, the next mass extinction on Earth. It's really scary stuff. This is the first confirmed mammal species to have died due to climate change. There was this little species of mouse, and it was found only on one little small island off the coast of Australia. And they tried to capture some once they realized that they were not found anywhere else and that they were in danger. But the sea level has risen on this small island, and it's only 10 feet above sea level. And they say that basically, you know, the area of the island that sits above high tide has shrunk from 9.8 acres to 6.2 acres. So that means that the vegetation has been shrinking and the rodents have lost about 97% of their habitat. And they have confirmed now that it is pretty much extinct. And it's because of the sea rise. So it's right here. This is the first mammal that has gone the way of the dodo. It's totally extinct, and they weren't even able to capture it so that they could potentially, you know, grow it in sanctuaries or release it in other areas or whatever. And it's just gone. So crazy stuff. There's many other, you know, creatures that are very, you know, similar predicaments. And again, like I've pointed out before, what happens when these sea levels start impacting human areas, and you're going to get massive migration of people, millions of people being displaced. They need to Jurassic Park the mice. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to know. And again, you're kind of like, you know, playing God, so to speak, because where do you introduce them? Like in some other habitat that then maybe displaces something else. Like it's hard to know like what you can actually do and what you can't. Okay, guys, this one talks about how the dairy industry is going to be impacted because their cows can't stand the heat. Not going to get into the details too much. Definitely recommend reading this one too. They're talking about what you can do, and they're encouraging farmers to plant trees and do shaded areas and all this kind of stuff. And again, it comes down to, you know, money. They're basically saying that by 2100, so 2100, you're going to have to spend this much extra, you know, in today's value to be able to deal with the heat, and you're going to have like huge losses of income because the farmers are not going to be able to be productive. So crazy stuff. This is a great article where they just told people about how much water it takes to make certain types of foods, and that a 3-pound burger requires 660 gallons of water. And yeah, it just gives you all the kind of different stuff for different foods, different animal products, and compares them to plant foods as well. It's not really a vegan article per se, but just a handy-dandy reference if anybody wants it, so definitely check that out. This one talks about the Antarctic, Greenland's large ice fields melting, and how it's going to totally mess up Canadian weather, and more extreme weather is to be expected, and it's a huge danger. Definitely an interesting read. Check this one out. They're basically saying, yeah, be prepared for more extreme weather. It's coming. Race Lover, if sea level rises too much, let's all meet at PlantBased and we'll live there and figure it out. Yeah, we're pretty far above sea level, so it should be okay. My family's getting impatient. I think I'm going to call it a night here, guys, because there's way too many for me to finish this. I will come back on probably tomorrow, maybe, and finish out the rest of this. We're just getting to the good stuff here with the climate strike happening from Greta Thunberg and all the supporters and all the wonderful young people around the world who are you know, doing this. And we'll pick it up from here next time. So let me just jump back here. I want to say again, thanks to everybody. It's been awesome. I hope you guys join me for the next one. And thanks everybody for all your support. See you soon. And yeah, I gotta go take care of the kids. They're going crazy. You're very welcome, and thank you for being on Brain Inside Ahead, and thanks to everybody. So yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Leon. Thanks, everybody. Jen, everybody. Mr. And I don't know if I missed. I'm sure I missed some other people, but thank you. See you guys. Bye.